What is your favorite 90s rom-com centered around a love triangle where one of the men in the triangle has to pretend to be gay?
Oh man, there's just so many. It's
So
hard to
many
pick
choose
just
from.
one.
You gotta, though. You have to pick one. I'm not gonna let you cop out on this one.
I mean,
I know. It's a tough one, right?
I'm trying to think if there's any other movie that I know.
No, there's not.
All right, I guess it's Three to Tango.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard choice, but it's got to be Three to Tango, right? I mean, if that's what you're looking for, then there is exactly one movie that fits the bill, and that movie is 1999's Three to Tango, starring, of course, Matthew Perry, as well as Dylan McDermott, Nev Campbell, Oliver Platt. It's even got John C. McGinley, Bob Balaban.
What? The Bob Balaban film?
Yeah, it's a Bob Balaban. He plays Decker, John C. McGinley's partner.
Wow.
No, it's a great movie. It's one of my favorites, actually. Directed by Damon Santo-Stefano, who, of course, we had the pleasure of talking to. So you'll hear from him today in this podcast episode, which is amazing. He's a super, super cool dude, and I can't believe that we got him on the podcast. It was so fun talking to him about Three to Tango. We also talked to him about Cinderella Story 2 and 3. Super awesome of him to come on the podcast. It was written by Aline Brosh McKenna and Rodney Patrick Vaccaro. Aline Brosh McKenna, of course, being known for having written The Devil Wears Prada.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool, right? She also wrote Cruella. Yeah. And the 2014 remake of Annie, which I really liked. I love Three to Tango. I probably love it a little too much. It is a really fun movie, and I could probably watch it like once a week, every week for the rest of my life and be pretty happy about it.
Wow.
I just really like the movie. Dude, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what it is. I've been trying to pinpoint why I like this movie so much. I think it's because I really enjoy a situation where there's a love triangle that forces one member of the triangle to pretend to be something completely different than what they are, and chaos ensues. Like if you had where a boy has to pretend to be a girl to get close to the girl he likes, but then her boyfriend starts to fall for him. like that would be like my ideal movie right there.
Whoa, have you seen Some Like It Hot?
No, is that what that movie is?
Like the most classic comedy ever made with Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and Tony Curtis.
Some Like It Hot sounds like a movie that I would probably enjoy.
Now, see, when you started and you said, I think why I like Three to Tango is because I like movies where people are in a situation. I really thought you were going to say in a situation that is both romantic and comedic.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, did you know there's a whole genre for you?
What? Oh my gosh. I'm
Turns
gonna
out
get out there and
Tango's
start
the only
seeing some of
rom-com
these
you've ever
romantic comedic movies. Honestly, I think it's sad because it really is barely a genre nowadays. They don't really make that many rom-coms anymore compared to like the 90s and the 2000s.
Right, because I think there were too many of them in the 90s and we all got tired of them.
Dude, so you're saying there was rom-com fatigue?
Yeah.
And all the big execs, they were like, well, they loved rom-coms when other people made them, but now that I made one, people don't like it. So it couldn't be me. It must just be rom-com fatigue. Better start making Marvel movies. I like this movie so much. I've made a music video about this movie. I've re-edited. Yeah, whoa, dude.
I've only ever liked a movie that much that I did it for Return to Oz.
Wow, that's a good music video, I gotta say. I don't know if I told you this one. I re-edited Three to Tango to be from Amy's point of view. So it's only the scenes that she's in.
Wow.
It turns the whole movie into a much sadder film that kind of really just shows how cruddy her life is and how everyone she loves lies to her, and she spends all her time being manipulated by controlling, lying, selfish men.
Wow.
And that's how the movie ends, where she comes back to one of those controlling, lying, selfish men, and she's like, okay, it's all right. And he's like, yes, but I won't even give you the left side of the bed. And she's like, oh. I like this movie so much, I've even gotten a hold of the director and talked his ear off for like 2 hours straight. I love
listened to it before recording. It was 2 hours.
There you go.
Well, one of those hours was 3 to Tango. I'm Leif Eric, and I'm here with my co-host Torvald. This is the podcast where we focus on films and fan theories. And we are joined today by director-filmmaker Damon Santo-Stefano. Welcome to our podcast.
Greetings, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. So I had a chance to check out some of your podcasts and noticed that in February you interviewed Michael Ferris, who I have known for 30 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. He actually wrote with his partner the screenplay for the very first movie I directed.
Severed Ties?
And then and then I hired him and his partner on multiple movies after that. And he's amazing. Very articulate guy.
Yeah. No, we love talking to Michael Ferris. He was great.
That Catwoman story is pretty harrowing. I remember I remember him telling me that story as it was happening. And it was just like, I'm so sorry.
I mean, he accepted the Razzie, so
Did he really?
Yeah.
He did, yeah. He went to the award ceremony.
Holy shit.
So did Halle Berry.
No way, she didn't go.
She did.
She did?
She went.
Yep.
And she apologized for being in that movie.
No way.
She did, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I really like 3 to Tango. I'm a huge fan, particularly of Matthew Perry. I just love his comedy, and really, really bummed now about, the news.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible loss. It's really, I mean, he was brilliant.
He was a great, great comedian.
And a great person. One of those unusually empathetic, hilarious, loving, brilliant people. One of the great people to work with in this business. And it's, when that happens, when somebody leaves, it's brutal. Because it's just like there's a huge vacuum left that no one will ever fill. And it was way too soon.
3 to Tango, as funny and as silly as it is, I don't think there's anyone else who could have pulled off that character like Matthew Perry. I think he just blows it out of the water. It's a great movie.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There isn't anybody else who could have done it, because you can't play it too straight and you can't make it unbelievably light so that the jeopardy isn't there. And he had this fantastic tone that he could hit that was sarcastic yet loving at the same time. There was always a very sort of serrated quip with the tone and or the look of, I didn't really mean that. And so you can't help but like him. So put that kind of delivery into the shoes of somebody who has to hide who they are. And so I got onto the project and Matthew was circling it already. And I thought, I got to try to get this movie because he's going to kill it. And he did.
This film is about a love triangle between Matthew Perry, who plays a character named Oscar, and Neve Campbell, who plays a character named Amy, and Dylan McDermott, who plays a character named Charles. Charles is a rich, wealthy, narcissistic businessman. Amy is kind of she's like a goofy, free-spirited, artistic type who kind of, ends up relying on her boyfriend Charles for everything because he supports her. And the sad part is that he's got a wife. He's cheating. He's a cheater. Oscar enters the situation, and they all think he's gay, but really, he's madly in love with Amy, and zaniness ensues. I don't know. It's a little more complicated than that, because Charles kind of he hires Oscar not only as an architect, but also as a spy to go and spy on his girlfriend. And my theory is that Oscar, the man who is pretending to be gay, is not actually gay. he's just
What?
I know. Can you believe it? No, that's just the movie.
Wait
that's
a
not my
minute.
theory.
Wait.
No.
He's not gay? Well, why did Charles hire him to live with his girlfriend?
No. If you pay close attention to the movie, you can actually figure it out, because there's this scene right near the end where he says out loud into a microphone, "I'm not gay.
I am not gay."
And then the crowd reacts to it. I don't know if you noticed. It's pretty subtle.
It's pretty good.
But I have a theory that's going to make it much darker. Throughout this movie, Oscar Novak, the main character, is placed into a number of situations that almost end in his demise.
Novak, that's Hungarian, right?
Oh, yeah. I think so. There's a lot more of you people than...
I forget what he says.
It's a great conversation that is exactly worded so that you might think he's talking
crazy
about Hungarians.
how unimportant, yet how absolutely important that conversation is to the plot.
It really is. No, Oscar Novak is put into a number of situations which almost end up in his ultimate demise. He almost ends up dying over and over throughout the movie. And I have a theory that there's a reason for this. I think that Amy, the girlfriend of Charles and the object of Oscar's affection, I think that she is secretly a serial killer who specializes in murdering her boyfriends, which is why she's had so many boyfriends that didn't work out with, and now she's after Oscar.
She's not a manic pixie dream girl. She's a maniac pixie dream girl.
She is a maniac pixie dream girl, and she's coming for Oscar. Like I said, she's a serial killer, so she likes to do this for fun. And she even alludes to this whenever she talks to Oscar. She's like, "Oh, I'm always dating the wrong guys. I always have these bad relationships." It's because she keeps killing him. She's killed all her boyfriends. But now she has a boyfriend she can't kill because Charles is so loaded. She relies on him. She needs him to take care of her and support her. So she's like, "Well, I'll just kill this other dweeb. I'll kill this random guy who came to my art show, I guess."
No, I was just going to say, Leaf, you got to get on the screenplay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Four to tango.
I'm taking notes.
And it's basically this is how you pitch it. It's a romantic comedy it's 3 to tango meets Scream.
Amy was trying to murder Oscar. I think that she has done this before. I think she's planning to do it again. And I kind of sort of think that Charles might be in on it with her. The impetus for this entire plot to murder Oscar happens near the beginning of the movie. Oscar and his partner are trying to get hired by Charles, his partner being Peter Steinberg, played by Oliver Platt. And they present their idea for how to renovate this building. And the first team goes in with John C. McGinley, and they present this awesome VR presentation that was so cool back in the 90s, but, looks a little quaint nowadays.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the same thing I said to Damon, that VR headset does look like the VR headsets we have today, more or less.
Yeah, because they had them back then.
But they didn't work back then.
I think that VR goggles, the beta versions of them existed already. And so the production designer just made a couple of calls and got the designs.
I have to say, when I watched it in the 90s, I was really impressed with that VR and was like, whoa, that is so cool. But watching it again now, the stereoscope that the main characters use is way more cool.
It's actually more.
The VR hasn't aged very well.
Yeah, I know. It's like the animation in the VR now is antiquated.
I remember during that time period, I used a VR headset in an arcade. The same arcade where I played Virtua Fighter 4.
Oh, dude, that was a good arcade.
And I think they were playing Duke Nukem in VR.
Whoa. Hey,
so it's not even full
the worst
3D.
game to put in VR. That game is actually 2.5D. Yeah. Wow. But even the engine of that game doesn't render it in 3D. It's rendered in 2D, and then they use camera tricks to make it look 3D. It's actually really cool the way they did it, but that would be just a sickening experience in VR. That wouldn't work right at all.
And I remember the people they had to lean forward to walk forward and lean back to walk, but they
dude,
couldn't
so
actually move
immersive.
their feet.
That's so immersive. That's like exactly how you want VR to work. Man, I remember at that arcade, all I wanted was a freaking balloon. I just wanted a balloon because there was like, I'd never seen it before. It was like a vending machine that if you put a quarter in, it would like stick a balloon onto a nozzle and blow it up right in front of you and then like dispense it for you. And I was like, I've never seen a balloon vending machine before. That's the only thing I want. And then I was like, hey dad, I want a balloon. And you were like, hey dad, I want to play Virtua Fighter. And he was like, Torvald, if you could learn to be more like Eric, maybe you would have gotten that balloon. And I was like, what? And he's like, you see, Eric never asks me for anything. So when he says he wants to play Virtua Fighter, I know that that really comes from his heart. And he really, truly wants to play Virtua Fighter. When you say you want a balloon, it's just another request among thousands of requests. So you got your freaking Virtua Fighter and I got nothing. I didn't get my balloon. I was so sad. It was the worst day ever, dude. I'll never forget that day.
You did ask for things a lot, though.
It was a balloon from a quarter machine. Just give your kid a balloon, dude.
Maybe he just didn't want another balloon hanging around and he knew Virtua Fighter.
Then he could have said that instead of giving me a lecture on being more like you. And I was like, Eric asks for things too. What the heck?
Well, it turns out this was a very fateful day for us because my mom our mom talked to me about that day several days later. Actually, she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to our psychiatrist and was telling her that the anti-anxiety meds that I was on were working because normally I wouldn't have asked my dad for anything. But this time I was very adamant that I wanted to play Virtua Fighter 4.
Dude, I mean, I guess mom and dad talked about that because dad sure talked to me about that.
And she was like, the anti-anxiety meds are working. But then they took me off of them and
no, and then
I had a lot of anxiety.
Oh man, dang it! Whoa. Well, I mean, this is pretty cool that we both have such fond memories of that day.
But truth be told, okay, so Dad asked me why I picked the like Chinese or possibly Japanese
because
lady.
There was a hot girl in it. Yeah, because she was so hot.
And I was like, oh, because she's so cool. But that was the entire reason I wanted to play the game. She was pretty hot.
I know. Dude, I remember. I was like,
I mean, she was attractive. She was good looking. And she spoke in like a different language after she won every match, which was cool.
Dude, that was like
I didn't understand a word she said.
Wow. Did you not remember that conversation where dad like tried to teach me to be more like you and not ask for balloons?
No, not at all.
It was like right in front of you.
Are you kidding? Well, I was probably just staring at that girl in the game.
Yeah, I know you were. You weren't saying anything.
She was so cool.
Just waiting for your freaking quarter so you could play.
I had no idea that you wanted anything.
I showed it to you. It was cool. I never got to see a balloon get dispensed. I'm so sad. I was like, will it come out with helium in it? Will it just be air? I guess I'll never know.
I would hope helium.
Yeah, I know. Me too. But I was like, what if it's not? That would be crazy. Oh, man. I wish I got my balloon. Anyway.
You probably could get a balloon. That was on like a boardwalk type
Yeah,
place.
it was in like it was in Santa Cruz. That's where it was.
Yeah, it was the beach boardwalk.
I'm sure they don't have
they had
that
Duke Nukem,
balloon
they had
vending
Duke Nukem
machine there,
VR
or
at the
Duke
beach
Nukem
boardwalk
anymore.
in Santa Cruz.
Pretty cool. And what were we even doing in Santa Cruz? Like, that's such a weird place.
Well,
for us
Dad grew
to
up
be.
there. He talked about how he took us to the cliff that they ride off of on their bikes in Lost Boys, the movie, and told us about it.
Like,
and talked about how they circle back to a
cave.
cave that actually isn't really a cave, it's just an indent. But in the movie, it's like a cave. And we had never seen Lost Boys, but he described it to us in great detail.
Yep. I was like, well, I don't know about that movie, but this scene sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, they're flying on their bikes.
Yeah. What a memorable day, apparently.
Yeah. Dang.
They're trying to get the job. They have to follow up this awesome VR presentation, and Oscar starts babbling. He starts rambling about his naked friend Buddha Bob because Charles has a big golden statue of Buddha in his office. And then Charles, as soon as Oscar stops, Charles just stares at him and he says, "The Buddha is an important spiritual figure from which I draw tremendous inspiration." I'm just kidding. I think he was not just kidding. I think he was genuinely offended by Oscar's insensitive comments about Buddha. And there's good evidence that Charles actually does draw tremendous inspiration from Buddha. He's got a giant Buddha statue in his office.
He does yoga.
His secret sex room right off of his office is like decked out completely in like Asian decor, and he does yoga religiously. I don't think he was lying.
What you're saying is that, like any good Buddhist, when someone slightly offended him, he decided to murder that person.
Yes. He was so offended that he sent Oscar the next time.
Buddhists are known for holding grudges.
He was so offended that he sent Oscar to be murdered by his psychopath girlfriend, Amy.
So it wasn't that he was having an affair with her to begin with. She was just his hit girl, his hit person.
Whoa. Kind of.
And then, something else grew between them.
I kind of think that it seems like he is like overprotective and controlling and like surveilling her. This is like a Predator situation. This is like a Sonny Landham from Predator situation where they like hired bodyguards for him, but then they were like, actually, these bodyguards are to protect everyone else from him because he is so crazy. He's so much of a loose cannon. That's what Charles is doing. That's why he's constantly surveilling Amy and why he's so worried about her ex-boyfriends. That's why he's so worried about Kevin. He's like, she's going to murder him. She's going to murder any guy who comes close to her. I got to stop her.
Like, he can't defend himself with those big grotesque muscles of his.
Exactly.
You pointed out, and we should mention this, that back when I watched this in the 90s, Charles and he's supposed to be depicted as like this really uptight, almost OCD kind of person, and he sanitizes his hands after he shakes hands like with anyone.
Yes.
And I think in the 90s, I think even back then, I thought I was with the movie where I was like, he's
so
just
rude.
Like, right. But nowadays, it's like,
he's the only guy with a
sanitize your hands. That's great.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong. That's polite.
And then
you're
later
shaking
when
other people's hands.
To shake Kevin McCarthy's hand because
he has a cold.
I've got a cold. I'm like, good job, Charles. Don't shake people's hands, especially when you have a cold, but also in general.
But also don't like insult them, talk about their big grotesque muscles.
Well, I mean, that was a completely different conversation. That had nothing to do with him not shaking his hand. Charles telling both of these architect teams that they can, have a chance to build a model and show how they want to renovate this building, and then he'll pick the best one. It's honestly not a bad idea. But then for him to tell them that both teams have to pay for it out of pocket.
They're out of pocket, yeah.
This is where I don't know if it's ethical. And I would say that's probably okay because they are architect firms, right? They can probably build a model out of pocket. But then Oscar is asking Peter how much this will cost. And Peter's like, $150,000. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dang.
In 90s money? Like, that's crazy. That's an obscene amount of money to build one model. And there I'm like, Peter,
in New York.
Maybe you're just like really bad at your job if you can't build a model for less than $150,000 in the 90s. Oh my goodness. That's like crazy.
When he tells them that they'll have to pay for it out of pocket, that's when I said, oh, this was clearly inspired by directors and writers going into pitch to like an executive and having two people. I like both of your pitches. Why don't you both just mock something up for me?
Write the screenplay for me.
Do it. Yeah, just go do it. On your own time, your own money.
I won't pay you for it. I'll pay you after I buy it.
Right. That's what it feels like to me.
No, that's exactly what it is. You're right.
Peter says that he will get $150,000 for a second mortgage on his apartment, which tells you even in the 90s, like anything involving real estate in New York is going to be ridiculously expensive. So,
but they're not making real estate; they're making a model.
But they're doing it in a building.
They just go to the building to like check it out. They don't. The model isn't a fixture of the building. They can move it around.
They are building it in the building. You see how many interns they have? Just who knows what they're doing in that
I don't
building.
know.
It's like they're constructing there.
Mostly they're just dropping rolls of paper. But
I think that part was clearly not inspired by anyone who worked in architecture, but just people who worked in film being on like a film set and having tons of people walking around, dropping paper, just doing whatever.
Yep, definitely. Amy and Charles at Amy's glass blowery. I think that Nev Campbell is ridiculously cute in this movie, but I think that she is very, very cool doing apparently actual glass blowing, as we found out talking to Damon Santo-Stefano.
It was very complicated, but she, first of all, we were in a huge glass blowing shop, so all of those ovens are real and they're really loud, which made it impossible to record the dialogue. But also, they're at about 2,200 degrees, and so so we had that, and we had professional glass blowers, and Nev learned how to do it leading up to the scene, so that she could do it, but also not injure herself. So when she was actually blowing it, swinging it, putting that newspaper under it, that wet newspaper, that glass was about 900 degrees.
Well, yeah, it's glowing. Like, oh my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, and she was like so relaxed the entire time. Like, I got this. And I was like behind the camera going,
she looks like she's been blowing glass her whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's a dancer, a former dancer, so the physicality for her was easy, and it was just about the nuance of not burning herself, and then put it in a bucket of water, and it blew up.
And it actually exploded? Like, holy, oh my
goodness!
Yeah,
she's a rock star. I mean, she's just a incredibly good actor. She's very, very, very funny. She can do drama, and she's such a pro. I mean, she can do anything. She's amazing.
So this movie, actually, when I was a kid, as like a preteen, seeing that scene, I was like, man, I'm going to be a glassblower when I grow up. That looks so cool. But
that's great.
I never did. I've never blown glass, unfortunately. Still got to try one day.
I'll tell you what, it's not for the faint of heart. And I thought I wanted to try it too, because I'd been to Venice, Italy, and seen it done. And it's very time consuming to train. It's also very expensive, but there is one thing that threw me off of it, which was the glass blower said, when you're blowing down the tube into the molten glass, never ever breathe in because you'll die.
Oh, oh no.
Because the air is about, by the time it goes up the tube, it's 500 degrees.
Oh yeah, that would cook your lungs. You'd have hamburger meat in your chest. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh geez. Mm-hmm. Well, now I know why Matthew Perry kept his lips like very carefully off of the.
Yeah, there's that. Right.
What on earth is Kevin Cartwright doing at Amy's glass blowing workshop all the time? Just like moving boxes. Does he work for her?
He's only there once.
He's a football star. What's he doing here, moving boxes?
He's a friend of hers because he used to date her, and he's only there that one night. He's helping move things to the art show later that night. One thing I do like about this film that I somehow never realized when I watched it, and people who are younger listening might not know this, and I certainly didn't because I was very young in the 90s. But
the
90s...
Sorry.
In the 90s... if you were gay, you had to lie about being gay to keep your job. You would lose your job if people found out you were gay. It happened all the time.
You'd lose everything, pretty much.
This movie was just a clever reversal of that trope that people knew about in the 90s, which is in order to keep his job, he has to lie about being gay instead of saying he's not gay. He has to say that he is when he isn't. So it's a fun reversal of what was happening at the time.
Dude, it's so clever.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was a little risky, because I don't think audiences really were interested in seeing that portrayed at all. But I mean, I think it's taken with different eyes now in a better way.
Amy is having an art gallery. Charles decides to send Oscar to watch her at the art gallery. He wants to make sure that nothing uncouth happens. Really, he's sending Oscar to his doom. He wants Amy to murder Oscar. I feel like Amy's glass sculpture is somewhat underwhelming. I think it's
Yeah,
not
it
the
sucks.
prettiest glass.
This is like
sculpture I've
a
ever
stained,
seen.
not even good stained glass.
No, it's just like random stained glass panels. That's
But
it.
their production designer probably just put it together really quick. But
you can make like really cool glass sculptures.
I
And this
know.
is not one of them. This is the first attempt on Charles's life. Immediately after he arrives, Amy's glass sculpture, it hadn't done this before, but the second Charles approaches it, it starts to fall over right on top of Charles, and he gets smashed to the floor. That thing's heavy. Like, it's made of like glass and metal. So it's it could have killed him if it had hit him hard enough, but sadly it didn't. And you
she
see how
put
mad
some
Amy is.
spikes on her sculpture.
She should have. Yeah, she didn't think it was going to be used as a murder weapon. They didn't have a sacrificial lamb until just the day before.
Oh, yeah.
So she wasn't ready.
She just threw this together.
But you can see how angry she is. She's like, "Oh shit, piss."
I'm Nev Campbell. I'm so
Yeah,
cute in this movie.
Exactly. That was the first attempt on his life. It was a failure, but she's not going to give up. Right after this, Oscar has his first run-in with Kevin Cartwright. I think it is hilarious how Oscar really, really seems to be just so into Kevin Cartwright. Like, he won't stop talking about his penis. And then
He
immediately
really seems gay.
Immediately he's like, ha ha ha. So what are you doing after the show? And then Kevin's like, excuse me? And he's like, oh, no. I mean, did you come here with anybody? And I'm like, whoa, dude, you're so forward.
Right.
And then poor Kevin must be so confused.
I know,
when
and then Oscar rejects him. Like, what is going on?
You were so into me. I feel so bad for Kevin. But it's okay, because we'll find out later that Kevin may not have been on the up and up. He may have been trying to murder Oscar as well. So we'll see.
Man. But that's true, because he also set up the glass sculpture. He's the one who was carrying the glass sculpture. And it was in pieces in boxes, so he must have put it together, and then it fell over. And then the guy who runs the gallery apologized. But really, Kevin should be apologizing.
Yeah.
He was there. Maybe he was standing behind it.
He probably was.
He's strong enough. He could push it over. Big grotesque muscles.
For now, Oscar and Amy go on their date. So throughout the rest of the evening, throughout their date, a number of attempts on Oscar's life are made. The taxi engine just absolutely explodes in his face.
True, except that's not her cab.
But she was the one who hailed the cab, though.
Okay.
Watching it this time, I did notice the first thing the cab driver does when he starts screaming, he turns around and yells at them.
Like, they need to fix it, yeah.
And that's why Oscar gets out and checks it, because maybe it's our problem. But I think he knows that Amy did something here.
She sabotaged it when he wasn't looking. She opened up the engine of his taxi and put some glass shards in there, some explosive glass shards.
He was supposed to actually open the radiator, but we didn't. I forget why we didn't use that take, but yeah, we were just like, well, that's funny. Let's do it.
I actually like the way it turns out, because he doesn't even get the hood open. Like, it explodes the instant he starts to lift it, which I feel like is a bit even more of a surprise to the audience, because you never expect the car to explode in this scene. It's
I know.
Really good.
It was really one of those. Me and Matthew just like joking around, and then he's like, should I have charcoal covering my face after the explosion? I'm like, well, it's not actually the Roadrunner cartoon. So in the theory, what would she use to kill him?
The very next scene, as they're walking in the rain, she attempts to kill him again by absolutely decking him with the heel of her shoe right into his chin. And she clobbers him. She knocks him into the air off of his feet with just a massive, like, Mortal Kombat style uppercut.
Well, I guess, I'd buy it if they were dating for a while and she was getting sick of him. So where it was like, I know I can't stand being on a date with this guy. I'm going to basically break his jaw and other parts of his body.
She then takes him to a very specific restaurant where she knows the waiter where they've worked together many times before to poison many boyfriends in the past. I love the waiter with the tuna melts. That guy kills it. He absolutely kills it. Every time he's on there, I'm just cracking up. He's so good. What's good here? Tuna melt. Anything else? Tuna melt. And then at the end, when he comes up to Matthew Perry holding a tuna melt, just like shaking his head, like, what is this guy doing? Ordering another tuna melt? I love that.
That's actually the tuna melt was in the script, but the character is based on a waiter that I had repeatedly in New York City who was just like so indifferent. It almost strayed into abuse, where it was just like, you know what, everything sucks here. Just order something, because if you order something else, that's gonna suck, and you suck. And so even me writing down what you want sucks. So I had to put him in the movie.
Oh, that's great. He knows what he wants to serve to them too. They're like, what should we order? He's like, tuna melt. They're like, anything else? He's like, tuna melt. He poisons their tuna melt. He knows what Amy wants.
Well, I really hope she knows him, because otherwise she didn't pick like a very good collaborator for this one, because like he's not subtle. He's like, dang, I only poisoned the tuna melt. I'm gonna bring you a tuna melt, Oscar. That's the plan.
She's like, is there any other food? He's like, I've already poisoned it. I didn't poison any other food. It's gonna be a tuna melt.
He's like, shut up, Amy, come on.
Oh. Yeah, apparently he didn't put enough poison in it, though, because Oscar just throws up and then does get all better right after.
Or maybe Oscar, spent years developing an immunity to iocane powder.
Exactly. Yeah, to whatever sort of toxin they put in these tuna melts.
Salmonella.
And she didn't, but why would she poison herself?
Oh, she didn't. She was acting. See, she had to throw him off. So she then forced herself to throw up. She's like, oh, wow. Catch on.
And we always talked about that. My sisters, our sisters always pointed that out. Chandler's throw up looks real.
His name isn't Chandler.
Oscar's throw up looks real. Amy's vomiting looks totally fake.
Plus, you don't actually see them throw up, so you don't really know if she really did or not.
No. We don't know.
Maybe she had a cup of water and she bent out of frame and then poured the water, and then that sounds like vomit, and he didn't see that happen.
There you go. That's probably exactly what she did. Of course, he is a great actor. He's a terrific actor, and he's standing there just looking unbelievably sick. She's standing there talking about all these horrible, revolting foods. She doesn't look sick at all. Until she throws up. And, of course, it's supposed to be a gag. It's supposed to be funny. You're not supposed to expect her to throw up.
It's not funny at all, though. It's dark.
Yeah, she realized that this wasn't going to kill him. So she's like, oh, no, I got to cover my tracks.
Poison doesn't work if you throw it up.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing is he every time she tries to kill him, he dodges her attempt. She gave him poison. He threw it right up. It didn't have time to take effect. That's where she realizes what a formidable foe she's up against. And she's like, I cannot let this man reproduce. His children will be unstoppable. So, she smashes his testicles.
Or maybe she was just really mad at him at that point. She's just frustrated.
Sure. Either or. You got to admit, a lot of horrible things happen to this man when he is right next to her. And she's causing every single one of them.
This is true.
She's the cause.
Yeah, and none of it's plausible, but hopefully, at least you guys laughed.
During the glass blowing scene, she doesn't give him some important information that could save his life. She says, just put your lips on the hole and blow. She never says, don't breathe in. She's trying to get him to cook his lungs.
Interesting.
And then when that doesn't work, she swings the ball right past his face and dunks it in water to explode right next to him. She's trying to put glass in his eyes.
Wow, this is good, guys.
So the next time Oscar and Amy meet up, she invites him over to her house. She makes him promise to never lie to her. and then she unknowingly makes him lie to her by inviting Charles over, and then he has to pretend to be gay.
I mean, in Oscar's defense, he did tell the truth. They
Yes,
just didn't
it's true.
believe him.
Nope.
He said he's not gay.
So when Oscar is in the apartment with Amy and she
I knew
asks him
it.
to turn the music on.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm asking what you think I am, but I've just always wondered how you guys got the cork to pop off the bottle like that. When he goes to open the bottle, that thing explodes off. I wondered if that was like a setup that you had with like an explosive in the bottle, or did you just shake up a bottle of champagne and have him open it?
We just, honestly, it was just, we shook up the bottle and twisted the cork just enough so that Matthew could put his thumb under it. And when he needed it to go off, it would go off. And we had time on that scene so that there were a couple, it's one take. And he doesn't, because he leaves the bathroom and he does this pratfall. Then he gets up, and I think he pops the cork, and that's all one shot. So it took, he probably fell like 7-8 times before that worked, and then the cork actually worked, and then the pouring worked, but we had the time to actually make it fly. But the other great thing about it was that Matthew was there, and I believe that the fall hadn't been planned, and it was just going to be him and then Champagne break the glass, and then she comes out, right? And Matthew's like, "Oh, I gotta wipe out. Come on, I gotta wipe out." And I'm like, "All right, let's try it." And I could see the assistant director looking at his watch like, "Oh, fuck," right? Because as soon as you get into physical comedy, you got to get a the stunt coordinator there, and it takes a while to make it work, because it doesn't work at first. So we padded the floor, and then we needed more padding. But he would not relent. He was like, "I'm going to make this happen." And I was afraid he was going to break his wrist or something, but but he nailed it. It was a blast.
Awesome. He does a surprising amount of physical comedy in this. You might ask yourself why she invited this guy over and told him to turn on tango music and dim the lights and open champagne and then got naked.
I was thinking about this. Now, probably, I don't know about the champagne. Can't explain that. She probably showers after every day of work at the glass place because she'd be really sweaty.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
That makes sense. The rest, I don't know. I don't know about the champagne, but whatever.
There's a clearer reason. She invited her narcissistic, rage-filled boyfriend over to see them, getting it on. And she's like, he'll fly into a jealous rage and murder Oscar. That's what she was doing. She was, she did. She invited her boyfriend over to catch her naked with a guy.
Well, luckily, he's very even-tempered, and he only admits that he might have to kill Oscar.
He says, "I swear if you weren't gay, Oscar, I'd have to kill you." She was trying to get her boyfriend to kill Oscar.
So they're in on it together. I see. Yes.
He's like, "I'm not gay. I didn't gay."
Right.
That line of delivery, like he was a comedic genius. I've been quoting that line since I was 12. It's such a
that was an improv.
I love how Oscar thinks he's so cool, about to have an affair with his boss's mistress and ruin his career.
Dude, Oscar, no.
He's like throwing his jacket over there and being like, "I'm Batman." It's like, Oscar, you're not Batman. Get out of here. You're ruining your life. When he is running right after that and screaming, which is another great scene, I love how chickens just suddenly come flying in from every direction.
Right.
It's not like one person threw a chicken at. It's like everyone threw chickens at. Did you just have like 6 people waiting?
Looks confused.
And he looks like, so what? Confused. He's like, "Where'd the chickens come from?"
That's funny because that was sadly my idea, right? And because I thought, okay, it's Chinatown, and in New York City, where I spent a lot of time, there used to be loose chickens, and if you ran down the street, you'd scare them, they fly up, right? That happened to me in college. So I decided, let's do that. But we really need chickens in cages going into the restaurant to tie it in. And then we'll put the chickens in front of Matthew. He'll run. And we get to set. And well, none of that was really going to work in time. So so we couldn't have the chickens in place for him to scare. So I was like, well, we have the chickens. Let's just do a take where he's running down the street and we throw the chickens in his face. And Matthew was like, what? And he's like, and then he goes, oh, wait, no, I know how to do this. So he turns around, we roll, he runs, the chickens go in his face, and then he stops and he looks like, what the fuck just happened? And then he keeps running. And I was like, oh, it worked. It was hilarious.
It definitely worked.
Only he could have pulled it off. I mean, it was like one of those moments where the joke just doesn't fly, But Matthew was like, no, we can make it work.
So, dude, maybe she hired people to throw chickens at him to murder him. Yeah. So, you might think that sounds crazy.
No. I've played The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whenever Link attacks a chicken too much, and then they just swarm you. They kill you.
Just murder you.
Right. Death by chicken. Yes.
So she is moving in. As they're looking through her stuff, Oscar grabs a photo of her. It looks to me like, probably an actual photo of Neve Campbell as like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
He acts like it's a super embarrassing picture from the 80s.
It's not.
But what is embarrassing about it? I can't figure it out.
It looks like a slightly younger Neve Campbell. I think she's wearing a dress and she's with friends. She's
not wearing anything embarrassing at all. Even now, 30 years later, it's not right. And first of all, the 80s weren't that far from the 90s.
I think
so why are they acting like
they wrote it as an embarrassing photo?
Yeah.
Why would she just bring that at the top of her suitcase to Oscar's house or whatever? They wrote it as an embarrassing photo. Then they asked Neve Campbell if she had an actual photo of herself when she was slightly younger. And of course, Neve Campbell didn't want to bring an embarrassing photo of herself. She just brought a normal photo.
And then they just acted it as it was written. He's like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Look at you looking all normal. She brings him a present. She brings him another poisoned tuna sandwich, which she hands to him, and he does not eat it. He throws it away, foiling her plans.
Oh, man.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. I'm sure you didn't think of a lot of this, but...
No wonder. Okay, keep going.
Oscar is leaving his own house at the same time as Charles is leaving his house, and they're leaving Amy behind. And then Charles gets a big old kiss and a big hug, and then Oscar gets a tiny little peck on the forehead. And then Charles drives away in his gigantic luxury Range Rover, and Oscar pedals away slowly on his little bike, waving.
Right. That's a good call. That's hilarious. I think that was Matthew's idea.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think that he was going to walk away and Dylan McDermott's character was going to drive away, and Matthew was like, oh, give me a bike.
Good call. It's such a good scene.
That was Matthew, man. He was always finding the visual, because he was a big silent movie fan and a big Jackie Gleason fan, and really loved physical comedy, obviously. So he was always pitching those ideas. Unfortunately, we had, a budget that allowed us to make those pivots quickly.
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about the very beginning. That's the one thing that as kids we were always just so perplexed by, and I did finally figure it out today.
The movie starting out with a bunch of dancing like
jazz swing music throughout the movie, but it starts with people doing swing dance, and it's called Three to Tango.
Yeah.
So we were always just like, why are they swing dancing instead of doing the tango?
Yeah.
Which is a totally different dance.
Yeah.
Anyway, I only figured it out this time because I listened to the lyrics, and the song says the line 3 to Tango. So it's a jazz swing song that sings about three to
tango. Okay,
so they couldn't have people tangoing to this jazz swing song, but they had a song that had the name of their movie in it, so they had to use it.
I always figured that I must have just misunderstood what tango is. Amy sets Charles up on a date with Kevin Cartwright. And it turns out this is not a date. This is actually just another element of her murder plot. Because really, she has manipulated Kevin Cartwright into becoming her hitman yet again. And right in the middle of their date, he goes ballistic. And with his big, grotesque muscles and athletic strength, he just barrels down the road and tackles Oscar to the ground, suffocating him.
He can't breathe.
Super dangerous. Yeah, he even says it. He says, "I can't breathe." Luckily, Oscar is just too tough and Kevin's just too nice. And at the very last second, he can't go through with it and he lets Oscar breathe again. So I think
exactly Kevin, how I remember it.
Yeah, that's what happened. They weren't just like playing around and roughhousing in a very gentle, loving kind of way.
That's a good one. Yeah, he could, because that tackle's brutal. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Playful, fun tackle at all. I think the reason that Amy is able to manipulate Kevin Cartwright like this is because she has blackmail on him. And she reveals this when Oscar gets back. She's like, "Oh, first of all, didn't expect to see you alive again." Second of all, what does she think decent means? Because Oscar's like, "Are you decent?" And she's like, "Yeah, come in." And she's just bare naked.
She means decent is under bubbles.
At the end of the scene, she says, "Turn around," when she's going to get out of the bath. And he does turn around. But then she just like walks next to him, totally naked, right? Yeah. Like in front of him. There's no reason to have him turn around.
So she's surprised to see him back. And then the very first thing she says is she's like, "Oh, crap, this attempt didn't work, but I don't want to lose my blackmail on Kevin in case I need him again." So she's like, "Hey, don't tell anybody that he's gay. You understand? Because now Oscar knows that Kevin is gay, and that is what she's using to blackmail him." Like you said, coming out as gay would have absolutely ruined a star quarterback in the NFL in the 90s. That's how she gets him to do whatever she wants. That's how she gets him to come down to her shop and use his grotesque muscles to move boxes. That's how she gets him to show up at her art show and try to murder guys and tackle guys. And she's explaining her one homosexual experience to him, and she says, "I'll whisper it to you." She said, because she doesn't want to say out loud what she did, and she says, "I'll whisper it to you." And she whispers something which is just barely audible, but you can't quite hear it. And Leif and I recorded the audio and really did our best to try and isolate the whisper and edit out all of the music that's playing. But we just can't make it out. We have no idea what she's saying. I was wondering, do you have any idea what she says to him, or is it just...
Well, first of all, you and 100,000 other men, young men, tried to read her lips, get lip readers, record it, play it back. No one knows what it is, and I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell? Oh, man, you spoil sport.
Because Nev did have a line that she came up with, but we could hear it, and then in the mix we had to turn it down because we didn't want to actually have her people hear what she was actually saying. So
it's all your fault.
It's pretty blue.
Oh geez. Okay.
Here's what I got. I'll tell you what I got from it. She says, "I took you to market for our family. Ripped it up."
Really? I took you to market.
Oh,
interesting.
Family. Ripped it up is what I heard at the end.
You've got a couple of words in the beginning correct, which is we took a blank and then we... Well, I'll give you a hint. Remember how she's like, he's sitting there listening to her and she's like, it's not what everybody thinks. It's not whatever I think she calls it, the Spice Channel with push-up bras and blah 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 blah. It's an extension of that, but it gets much much more intense. Nothing you would see on the Spice Channel.
Oh geez. Okay. Well, I guess it will have to be just one of those great mysteries. I'll just have to imagine what it must have been. But
I think you can.
So at the end, I hear, and then I ripped it out, is what she. But I don't know if that's right either. So.
Ooh, wow! I don't think that's what she said.
I don't think so either.
Hold on, let me call her.
I can make out of it.
Let me call her.
Oh jeez. Oh gosh.
Hold on.
Oh boy.
Hey Nev, I'm kidding. I'm not calling.
I was gonna say, please don't call her, please. I would hate to be the one to interrupt her day.
For context, we had another director do that. I did not leave it in the episode, but it was one of our very early ones.
Where essentially the director tried to call a random staff member from the movie that they made.
Are you serious?
Yes, yeah, completely serious. And the person just answered and was like, "What? What are you asking?"
And we're just sitting there paralyzed, like, "No, dude,
oh, man.
Don't bother me." Yeah, the guy's like, "Dude, call me later, not while you're doing the podcast."
Yeah, that was pretty great.
That's hilarious.
Okay. So do you have a theory about what she says, or is that it?
Well, okay. I think what she is saying, because I'm pretty sure she said, we put a fork into our... She's telling Oscar, she's like, we put a fork into our hands hidden.
Oh, no.
And then we are going to jam it into your neck and rip it out. And then you'll die. And that's why Oscar's like, oh, when she says it.
Right. I'm going to bleed you out in the bathtub. Okay, I got to go.
So as she's in the bath, she asks him for something. She says, can you pass me not the soap, not the, I don't know, hairbrush, not the loofah. She asks him to pass her the razor. Because she's going to use it to carry out her malicious deeds. But then he's standing too far away from her. So she's like, I got to get him close to me. I got to say something just so sumptuous that he can't stay away.
True. Okay. Yeah.
She starts telling her story of her sexual escapades with her college friend. And at the very end, she stops and she's like, ooh, I can't say it. Tell you what, come over here. I'll whisper it to you. Lean over to me. This is her trying to get his neck close enough for her to stick a fork in it and rip out his jugular, as you're saying.
Yeah.
The fork, of course, being a razor, because, people call those forks sometimes. I'm like, hey, I got to shave. Can I get a fork?
Right, and people refer to themselves as we.
Yeah.
I mean, she has lots of co-conspirators.
I think it's possible that in her moment of elation, she did whisper exactly what she was going to do to him, because he does seem like shocked and he recoils so fast that she doesn't quite get to it. She doesn't manage to kill him.
She sabotaged herself that time.
Yeah, I know. She was just she was too eager. And then he's so shocked that he's like, oh, she couldn't have actually said that. And he's like, he plays it off as his own mistake because, she acts as if nothing happened. She's just like, okay, bye-bye.
But when she tells him to turn his back to her, he keeps an eye on her because he doesn't trust her anymore.
True. Yep. So he's not trying to ogle her.
No, he's not a bad guy. He's Oscar. He's a good guy.
Sure. That's why he defogs the mirror.
She tells him turn around, and then he wipes just a little patch of the mirror, just a little patch, so she won't notice, that he's keeping an eye on her because he thinks she's going to stab him in the back.
In that bathtub scene, where he's like, don't ever do that to me again. And she's like, oh, sorry, I thought you liked him. What's wrong? Is he not your type? And then, Oscar struggles to say why.
Well, no, that's because she knows that's what he's talking about. He figured out she blackmailed Kevin into
Whoa.
killing him, into
He's like,
attempting
"Don't ever
to
do
murder
that
him.
again."
He's like, don't ever do that again.
Don't ever try to kill me.
That's why
again.
the gloves come off, and she just tells him in that scene, like, I'm going to murder you with a fork and rip it out.
First, I'm going to turn you on, and then I'm going to tell you I'm going to kill you.
That's why he's like, I got to keep an eye on her in the mirror.
As far as the whisper goes, I don't know exactly what she said. I think it was something along the lines of, because she is describing a lesbian experience with her friend, I think she's saying something like, we stuck a dildo in our pussy and then pulled it out, or something like that.
So Santos Stefano told us
Oh boy.
that he thinks we can guess. He's like,
I know.
You can figure this out. So
I think he
listeners,
thinks we're a lot more like sexually aware than we are.
Well, yeah,
because I
he
don't
thinks
know.
we're listening to this whisper for the wrong reason.
I know. I'm like, dude,
We're just weirdos who like stupid little details in movies. That's why we have this podcast. We just really like to pause and read all the text that shows up on the screen. Someone
like,
whispers, we're going to hear that whisper.
Yes,
It wouldn't matter if it was Nev Campbell or someone else talking about something totally boring.
Well, right? Like this could be Kevin Cartwright whispering, what he's going to do to Oscar.
Yes.
I would still
We'd still
want to
be
hear
listening. Well, and I'm an audio person. Like, I know how to isolate audio. For me, it's like a matter of pride. I should be able to figure out what she's saying.
I know. No, it's anyway. I'm like, if I wanted to get turned on, I could just like go on any website on the internet. I don't need Nev Campbell.
This isn't
to do
the
job
90s
for me.
when kids had to like rent a VHS and rewind and try to listen to Nev Campbell.
Well, right, but it was the 90s when it released. So I see.
Right. I'm just saying, not anymore. Anyway, but also I just have to mention, she says it's not what everyone thinks. It's not the Spice Channel with push-up bras. What is the Spice Channel? Have you ever even heard of that? I have no idea.
So back before the internet, there were certain channels which would only activate after like 10 p.m. On cable. Okay,
because when he said the Spice Channel, I assumed it was like a home cooking network, like Spices.
No, it just is essentially means porn.
Okay.
I do think that Damon didn't quite understand that we were saying that like just recently, like yesterday, we had recorded and tried like to modify the audio.
I didn't
to
have the
isolate
skills
it.
to do this as a kid.
Right. Well, I think that he thought that we meant like as kids watching this movie, we rewound this scene over and over and tried to listen.
So just to provide a little bit of closure on the whisper conundrum, Torvald thinks that he figured it out. After isolating the audio, he says, I'm hearing this. I wiped a bit of something edible in her pussy and I licked it out. And then going further, he thinks that the something edible could be either water or butter. And I'm thinking butter sounds more likely. So I think that this is actually solved.
The whole world finds out that Oscar is gay because he did an interview and it gets in the paper, and he is now proud to be gay, is the headline. And Amy freaks out because she's so happy, probably because she knows he's being humiliated. She's taking joy in this. And then Oscar freaks out because he's like, no, I don't want the world to think I'm gay. I'm not gay. They did a good job with like the Joe Rogan style enraged podcast radio host dude yelling about this moron on the front page. Like, I don't mind if you're gay. If you're gay, that's okay with me, but just don't say it, is essentially what he's saying. And I'm like, you loser, you jerk.
Yeah, and that's what people still say. That's what pride is. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I could go on a rant.
I know.
People like getting mad because someone put up a pride flag during Pride Month. It's like, you don't have to shove it in our faces. It's like, you put up an American flag because you're proud to be an American.
Right,
How can you not get it? Like it's 100% parallel here.
I don't mind it. Just don't shove it in my face. I've come to the conclusion after thinking about it a lot that if you truly didn't mind it, then you wouldn't care if it was in front of your face. The fact that you don't like it and feel like it's being shoved in your face means that you do mind it and you are offended by even the idea of someone being gay. Therefore,
obviously.
if someone ever says something like this, they're being disingenuous. Maybe not even disingenuous to you, but disingenuous to themselves. They're trying to convince themselves that I don't mind gay people. I just don't want to, see this stuff everywhere. But really deep down what they're thinking, even if they don't know it, is I don't mind gay people. I just don't want to see gay people or know that gay people exist. And actually I hate gay people. Right.
Right.
So anyway, that's anytime someone says, crap like that, it's just absolute bullshit. And don't let them get
good
by
job
with
on
it.
the crap. All about bullshit.
Yeah, I know. I tried to think of something else, but that's what it is. So after this, Oscar comes home. He's upset because he's had a whole day of people thinking he's gay. And then Amy tries to kill him again by getting him dangerously drunk and then leaving him cold and exposed to the elements because she steals the blankets and hogs the couch. What's he supposed to do? He's going to freeze. It doesn't work, though. He's just too resilient.
That may sound ridiculous, but if you look at Oscar's apartment, it's like a repurposed warehouse.
It is, yes.
It doesn't look like it has good insulation from the elements, but it's also not winter.
Yeah. I mean, she's just grasping at straws now. She's trying anything. Oscar and Peter go to the unveiling of their model, and everyone loves it, and everyone thinks it's great, and they're definitely going to win the contract. And then they all see down, just down the hall, Amy talking to Charles's wife, and they have to jump into action and get her away from her. Oscar goes and is like, oh, and this is Amy, my girlfriend, which I'm like, just say friend. If he'd said just like my friend Amy.
Or sister.
It's okay. It makes for a funny scene where he has to pretend that he's omnisexual and swings every which way. So then Amy forgets that he's not actually gay. And she's like, because she's really drunk too. She's like, this gay guy, if a woman kissed him, that might kill him. So she tries to kiss him. She's like, have you ever been kissed by a woman before? I'll get you. And then she remembers at the last second, wait, he's not gay. This won't work. And then she leaves angry.
She must be really drunk then.
Well, then as she's leaving, though, she laments her life as a psychopath, as a serial killer. She's like, why do I always do this? Why do I always, I meet a nice guy and then I blow it, meaning like I blow his head off. It's like, why do I always try to kill all my friends? And then he's like, it's okay. You don't have to be like that. Anyway, it was pretty good. That's definitely what they're talking about there. They're not.
How did I miss that?
He goes to the Gay Man of the Year award ceremony and he gives his acceptance speech. And I really love his award acceptance speech about cheating at bumper pool. Which is a really good speech because everyone's like, where's he going with this? You can't cheat at being gay. Also have to call out Peter, truly an amazing friend. Oscar keeps looking at him for like permission to tell everybody he's not really gay. And in the end, Peter nods and he's like, yeah, he lets Oscar deny the award and tell the truth. And essentially they're giving up a $90 million contract, which Peter needs because he just took out a second mortgage. But the best part is that after Oscar announces that he's not gay, Kevin Cartwright stands up and starts a slow clap. And then everyone starts to join in as Kevin is like encouraging them to. And I love that part because it reminds me of one of the greatest commercials I've ever seen, which I don't know if you remember this commercial. Let me know because I feel like I'm the only person in the world who's seen it. I think it was like an Applebee's commercial. I don't know. It was like a commercial for some restaurant that was, I think they were advertising like bottomless buffalo wings. And there's a table of guys that are all just having a great time at this restaurant, but oh no, they just ran out of wings and they just start to notice and their whole good time comes crashing down. But without a second's delay, the waiter walks in with a whole new plate of buffalo wings and everyone gets quiet as she puts it on the table in front of them. And one of the guys at the table, he looks around and he starts to rise from his seat and he begins to clap. And he looks around, gesturing for everybody to join in and nodding. And slowly but surely, the entire restaurant is filled with clapping and cheering and whistling. And the bashful waiter is just, like smiling and nodding. And then, as one of the people is standing to applaud, they accidentally knock their glass off the table and it shatters on the floor and the room falls into a stunned silence. But one instant later, another waiter comes out and is already at the spilled glass with a broom and a dustpan cleaning it up. And one guy rises and starts to clap for this new waiter. And he looks around, gesturing for everybody to join in. And slowly but surely, the whole restaurant is filled with clapping and whistling and cheering.
I'm really impressed with anything these waiters do.
The cleaning waiter just looks confused. The greatest commercial I've ever seen.
Somewhere along the way,
funny.
They forgot what they were advertising. No, it's not the wings that are impressive. It's just like anything.
I just love it so much because halfway through, I was so not sold. I was like, this is the dumbest commercial in the world. Like, I hate slow claps. I think they're the dumbest things ever. But then they're like, no, this isn't about the wings. This is just a weird restaurant where everybody slow claps for everything the waiters do. We're not even selling wings. We don't care about the wings. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Uncontested, the best commercial that has ever aired on TV. I love that commercial. And no one's ever heard of it. I don't know if it's like a local commercial. Yeah, clearly you don't know about it. No one in our family remembers it. It was the most hilarious thing. Oh man, I've tried Googling it. I've tried looking for it on YouTube. The commercial doesn't exist, dude. I can't find it anywhere.
Well.
So Amy is shocked. She's angry because now she knows she has to kill him because he's just creating too much of an uproar. So she takes her shot, one last chance, and she tries to just punch him to death. And she does a pretty good job. Like, he gets decked out. He's like almost unconscious. And then, but she sees that he's not dead. So she's like, well, I've got another boyfriend. So she tries it on Charles.
Well, and as we've said, this is what Charles was trying to prevent the whole time by providing Oscar.
Yep. True, he failed.
And now, as soon as she sees that's not going to work, she goes for Charles. He's like, oh, no, that's why I gave her Oscar. Now she's going to try to kill me.
Oh, man, he knew all along. He should have given her more bodies, more people to kill. Oh, boy, this is going to be a great episode. This is going to be so good. I don't know if you remember, but this is my favorite part of the movie when Kevin Cartwright and Peter have a conversation. And then Kevin, kind of asks Peter out, and Peter's like, "Oh yeah, sounds good." And then as Kevin walks away, he goes dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum dum, starts humming the Bonanza theme. And when we were watching this when we were younger, our little sister was like, wait, why is he humming that? Is he humming that because he's mad? And we were like, yes, he is incredibly angry with Kevin Cartwright right now.
That's
and
the song he sings.
That's his angry song, and he just like glares at Kevin singing dum da dum da dum da dum da dum dum. And then he like walks off camera towards him, and we don't ever see what happens there, but he probably just like went after him. Something snapped in his head, and he started playing his anger song. I just love that
Kevin
ending, where apparently Peter.
What good closure to that subplot.
We didn't know it, but apparently Peter's been like brainwashed with some sort of conditioning trigger where the Bonanza song turns him into a murder machine.
I mean, there is some evidence to support that. The beginning, he says to Oscar's friends, "Which one of you should I bitch slap first?"
Yeah,
and then he says to Oscar, while he's touching a candle, like he's being a little psychotic there. He's like, "I'm just trying to decide if I should kneecap you."
Yeah. Well, I also have to mention when he asks who he should bitch slap first, that's right after those guys were humming and talking about the Bonanza song because they were talking about Kevin Cartwright. So it really does set him off. That's his anger song.
He's like, you
He
guys
sings
know.
that song when he's filled with rage. I wonder what Kevin said to set him off. Like, Kevin seemed pretty nice to him.
Well, it's all true. Well, that's what he's saying. It's all true about the Bonanza nickname.
Oh no!
That
And then he
makes him mad.
remembered, and then that just flipped a switch in his head. It was over. He just had Bonanza on the brain from that instant on. Oh boy! Oh man, I love the end of that movie. I love that whole movie. It's such a good movie. Why would Brita thought he was angry? Of all the emotions he could have been feeling right then, why anger?
She was really young. I actually do remember that Brita thing, unlike your commercial.
Man, that's a great commercial. So we're gonna wrap this up. The film ends with essentially Oscar accepts his fate. He goes back to the restaurant and he's about to eat the poisoned tuna melt, but Amy stops him. She says, "Wait, no, you don't have to kill yourself." And she accepts him into her life, and she forsakes her murderous ways. And she says,
Well-
under one condition, she gets the left half of the bed.
And Oscar's like, no.
Oscar, being an idiot, is like, well, actually, I want the left half of the bed. So
Well, he probably thinks she booby trapped the right half of the bed.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Whoa, that's a good point.
Maybe she doesn't want to kill him anymore. Because as we've been talking about, she just wanted one of her boyfriends or ex-boyfriends to die.
Yeah.
And Peter just killed Kevin Cartwright.
Oh, no.
She doesn't have to kill anyone. She doesn't have to kill Oscar.
Her lust for blood has been satiated. She's like, oh, it's done. I'm good. I'm cool. No, don't sing the song.
Oh.
I love that. That's just the angry song. So this was going to be my final evidence. Who plays Amy? Why, Neve Campbell, of course, the leading lady, the Scream Queen, the literal
Yes.
Scream Queen. So you know that she's a serial killer. I mean, she has to be. Like, what else could she be?
True. Well, now, okay, you caught us.
And that's the end of the theory. But I think
Wow.
you'll appreciate the plethora of evidence.
Yeah, this is kind of like it's a femme fatale story with a little scream in it.
Exactly.
It's, you could basically take Promising Young Woman and intercut it with Three to Tango. I think that's where you're going.
Oh, that would be great. We should do that.
Well, if she is a serial killer, she's not very good at it.
No,
no,
not at all.
Well, either that or Oscar's just incredible at staying alive. He might just be a really
There's that.
resilient man.
There's that.
If you see one movie in your life, make it Three to Tango. At least as far as I'm concerned.
And as we heard from Santo Stefano, I might be writing the sequel, Four to Tango.
Dude, you should write Four to Tango.
And then we can write the prequel, Two to Tango.
There are a few things that I love more than movies that start out with a number in the title as part of a phrase, but then just continue sequels from that number, even though it wasn't the number
The
one.
number isn't one.
I love it. It makes
Ocean's
me so
13.
happy.
Ocean's
Yeah,
12.
Ocean's 4. So what do you think of this insane theory?
Well, normally I would say no, but Santo Stefano seemed like he was really into this theory. And
He
he's the
confirmed it.
director. So
Oddly enough.
I can't argue. It seems ridiculous, but you got it. You did it.
I
You figured it
never,
out.
in my wildest dreams, expected the director, Damon Santos Stefano, to be so on board with this theory. He was going to bat for it. He was helping us prove it. How many thumbs up would you give it?
Music for this episode is provided by Christine.
No, it's like at least 10 thumbs up. Like it's
At least 3.
2, 4, 6.
Three to tango.
6. Well, 3. Yeah, 3 thumbs up to tango. You got it.
Well, thanks so much for talking with us.
I can't believe you
and-
sat through all
and
that.
playing along with our silly theories. It's really been a
Oh,
joy
boy.
to talk to you.
Yeah, great talking to you guys. You're a breath of fresh air, but also, like, growing up, were you two essentially doing this as kids, and then
Basically.
found yourself in a podcast?
Basically,
more or less.
I mean, when Torvald moved to Denmark, we would just talk to each other for like 3 hours every Saturday. And usually it was about movies, and often we had theories. So I said, we should just record this.
We just talk about our own theories, other people's theories. We'd research them and just chat about them. And then, Leif was like, why aren't we recording this? We could make a whole podcast. And that's what we do.
Wow, good for you. That's great.
I think it's enjoyable to watch a movie that you like and imagine it in a completely different way, which was clearly not intended by anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But this is how all of the crazy conspiracy theories start, is like the association of one thing with another thing with another thing with it. Until you are seeing UAPs flying around in your bathroom. It's like,
that's it.
If you like our podcast, rate, review, like, subscribe, support us on Patreon.
You can find us on x.com.
Don't call it X. No.
Remember, the popcorn isn't real.